It is possible that you could live to be 100 years old if you are between the ages of 65 and 85 and still retain these 8 symptoms. Have you ever noticed that some people who are 65 years old continue to be sharp and energetic, while others gradually lose their edge? As we get older, we hear a lot of people talking about slowing down, giving in, and getting ready for decline. If I were to tell you that the exact reverse might be true for you, what would you think? Right there in your everyday life, there are subtle indications that say in a whisper that you are designed for 100. These clues are often disregarded. Over the course of this video, we will delve into 8 subtle yet significant signals that indicate you may be one of the select few individuals who possess the strength, habits, and resilience to live past the age of 100. These are not the things that are immediately evident, such as participating in marathons or lifting weights at the gym. These are more subtle signals, ones that reveal more about your psychological makeup, your rhythm, and your way of thinking. Stay here with me until the very end, because not only will we discover what these indications look like, but you will also learn how to accept them and build on them. This is not just a proof of survival, it is also an indication of turning simple habits into long-lasting strength. They are indicators of success, and they have the potential to cause a permanent shift in how you perceive yourself. The time has come to get started. At the top of the list is a profound feeling of comfort and seclusion. One of the most startling indications that you might be constructed for a long and healthy life is the way that you interact with yourself when you are by yourself. Although not lonely, I am completely at ease. If you notice that you rarely have feelings of anxiety or unease when it is just you and your own thoughts, this is not something that should be considered insignificant. It is a superpower that is not well known. There are a lot of people who spend their entire lives trying to find continual stimulation and avoiding silence because they find it uncomfortable to be alone. Nevertheless, if you have developed the ability to take pleasure in your own company, and if the absence of sound seems more like a companion than a danger, you are carrying something that is uncommon: emotional stability, which is frequently associated with reduced levels of stress, improved cardiovascular health, and a more balanced neurological system. It could manifest itself in trivial ways. It's possible that you take pleasure in going for long walks by yourself, or that you spend the evenings sitting on your porch without the want to check your phone or turn on the television by yourself. It is possible that you have seen that when other people are agitated or grumbling about being bored, you are able to relax and enjoy yourself by simply sitting, reflecting, or taking care of minor jobs around the house. However, being introverted is not the only factor that contributes to this form of self-sufficiency. Particularly emotional self-sufficiency. Being complete is the goal here. Research has shown that prolonged periods of isolation can have a negative impact on one's physical health, including hastening the aging process, lowering the immune system, and raising the likelihood of cognitive decline. On the other hand, the kind of solitude that we are discussing here is unlike any other. The isolation of a person who has learnt to live from the inside out. A person who has discovered serenity not in the absence of other people but in the presence of themselves. As opposed to the absence of other people, you exude an air of composure whenever another person approaches you. You are not someone who is quickly swept up in drama or major events. When you do speak, people have a tendency to lean in closer to you since you listen more than you talk. Because of the concentrated energy that you exude, you are more than just attractive. In a protective sense, it ensures that you are protected from the kind of emotional instability that depletes you. Existence is shortened by the body. In addition, the beauty of this sign is that it frequently forms over the course of time. It is not something that is innate to individuals. As time goes on, you will develop into it. If you are in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s and you have discovered that being alone does not frighten you as much as it used to, consider this to be a small win. In other words, it indicates that you have constructed a solid foundation inside yourself, one that does not rely on constant validation or distraction. This characteristic is shared by a significant number of the people who have lived the longest in the world. From Okinawa to Sardinia, they have a profound sense of contentment in their routines, and they are emotionally secure and spiritually rooted. When a person is experiencing that kind of emotional climate, it is like breathing in fresh air for the muscles. It provides sustenance to everything else. In other words, if you discover that being alone does not make you feel anxious but rather provides you a sense of clarity, calm, and even joy, this is not only a characteristic of your personality, it's a sign that you've achieved a degree of inner serenity that quite a few people never achieve. Moreover, and this is of the utmost importance, it is one of the most unassuming indicators that you are in it for the long haul. The second point is that you woke up without an alarm. One further unanticipated indication that you might be destined for a long life is the fact that you frequently wake up without the jolt of an alarm clock. This seemingly insignificant aspect, which is frequently disregarded, however, conveys a great deal of information regarding the efficiency with which your internal systems are operating. A robust circadian rhythm, which may be thought of as the internal clock of your body, is a hallmark of good health, particularly in your older years. Give it some thought. If you are 70 years old and you are still able to wake up first thing in the morning without the assistance of an external technology, this indicates that your brain and body are in harmony with one another. Moreover, the rhythm in question is not something that merely happens by happenstance. Consistent behaviors, low levels of stress, and an internal equilibrium that has been developed over time are frequently the factors that contribute to this. People who are able to sustain regular sleep-wake cycles are more likely to have better metabolic health, more stable blood pressure, and even greater immune responses. Moreover, it is not solely about the time that you wake up. Exactly how you feel when you do it is what matters. The fact that you are alert, have a clear mind, and do not require 2 cups of coffee in order to feel human is an indication that your body is aging in a graceful manner. Restless evenings are something that we all experience from time to time, of course. If, on the other hand, you discover that you are normally in sync with the daylight hours, sleeping when it is dark and rising up when it is light, this is nature's way of letting you know that your system is still functioning according to the settings it was designed to use. Moreover, this is a great thing. You are not combating your biological makeup. You are able to go with the flow. The fact that my older friends are still going strong far into their 90s is something that I have witnessed firsthand. They get up early not because they are required to, but rather because their bodies are prepared to awaken at that time. Not a single alarm is set by them. They keep a slow pace. To begin their day, they just get up, stretch, prepare a straightforward breakfast, and ease into it, exhibiting a rhythm that the majority of younger people find envious. Also, here is the more profound reality. The point at which your body no longer requires being jolted awake is an indication that your sleep is performing its function. Restorative is the word. It is therapeutic. And this particular type of sleep, when repeated night after night, transforms into a silent healer, healing cells, restoring hormone balance, and even removing garbage from the brain. Waking up without the use of an alarm is not merely a matter of self-control. It is a manifestation of the harmony that exists inside you. This demonstrates that your way of life is in harmony with your biology and that you continue to have a connection to the natural world, which is a characteristic that is shared by a significant number of centenarians all over the world. Therefore, if you are able to wake up before the alarm goes off, or if you haven't used an alarm in years, you should take this as a recommendation. It is your body subtly drawing your attention to the fact that I am still in rhythm. The way I was supposed to be working is still the way I am. That, my dear buddy, is a wonderful thing to come across. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Third, disregarding the little matters and focusing on the important lessons that you have learned. At first look, the fact that you periodically forget where you put your keys or why you stepped into a room may appear to be a warning sign. However, when combined with a clear recall for life's more significant lessons, beliefs, relationships, and insights, it might actually be one of the more subtle markers that your brain is maturing in a healthy way. The brain does not forget everything in the same way. As you can see, it gives priority to. Additionally, as we become older, a peculiar phenomenon takes place. In order for the brain to be able to focus on what is most important, it begins to let go of trivial things and clutter that is just temporary. This is not a failure at all. This is an improvement, that your mind is concentrating its efforts on depth rather than detail. Wisdom rather than minutiae, is what it actually means. In the event that you find that you are unable to recall a name for a little period of time, but you are still able to vividly recall the lessons that your father taught you about patience or the way that your spouse looked at you on the day of your wedding, this is worthy of celebration, since what you are keeping is not memory but rather significance. Moreover, meaning is what sustains the life of the brain. Getting older brings about a certain kind of clarity that becomes apparent. In a very literal sense, you stop sweating the small stuff because your brain has learned what is important to keep in mind. It is possible that you will forget the storyline of a television show that you watched the night before, but you will have no trouble recalling the moment that your grandchild was born or the lesson that you learned whenever you were going through a challenging period in your life. Scientific researchers that investigate the relationship between aging and memory have discovered that the selective preservation of significant memories is not only normal, but it also serves a protective purpose. The rates of anxiety, melancholy, and even cognitive decline are typically lower in individuals who are able to maintain strong emotional and moral memory, even if they become more forgetful about names or errands. It's also possible that you'll have an improvement in your ability to see the bigger picture compared to when you were younger. In addition to being less reactive, you are more forgiving and thoughtful. In addition to being old, that is also knowledge. It is the product of spending decades understanding what is important and what is not, that which endures and that which is fading away. And if we are being completely honest, how many of us in our 20s are capable of having a talk about what truly offers peace or how to deal with grief? You are now able to, even if you find yourself stumbling over your words every once in a while. What you bring to the table in return is a perspective that younger people simply do not possess. Believe me when I say that your intellect is still keen where it matters. Even if you occasionally forget where you put your glasses, but you still know exactly how to calm a sobbing kid, brighten someone's spirits with a few words, or remind a friend of their importance. And those more profound forms of remembering, they not only assist you in connecting with other people, but they also assist you in maintaining your own sense of yourself in a way that is robust, resilient, and unbroken. It is not the number of birthdays you have celebrated that determines how long your life has been, rather, it is the amount of meaning you have amassed along the way. And if your memory has gotten more selective, with less of an emphasis on collecting and more of an emphasis on curating, that is not simply a sign of who you are. It is also a sign of how far you have gone and how much more of your narrative may still be to come. Having fewer complaints than others your age is the fourth consideration. If you have observed that you are complaining less these days, less about the aches, less about the world, and less about the tiny annoyances of life, you may be revealing something significant about yourself. This may not seem like a significant improvement, but it is something that you should take into consideration. An attitude that is peaceful and low in stress is not only lovely to be around, but it is also profoundly protective, and it is one of the best indicators of a long life that is often disregarded. There are a great number of studies that have demonstrated that chronic stress has a significant negative impact on the body, particularly as we become older. At the cellular level, it accelerates the aging process, causes inflammation in the joints, and elevates blood pressure. It also weakens the immune system. On the other hand, when a person learns to let go of things that they are unable to control, to shrug and grin instead of stewing and snapping, their body responds to them and expresses gratitude for making the effort. If you are someone who has learned to take things in stride, someone who says, "Well, it is what it is," and who means it in a true way, then you are not giving up. The outcome of years, possibly decades, of learning what truly deserves your energy and what does not is that you have arrived at this conclusion. It's likely that you've also noticed by now, during the time that other people are complaining about the weather, the traffic, or the fact that things aren't the same as they used to be, you can find yourself thinking that life is still somewhat satisfactory. There are very few people that have that thinking, and it is therapeutic since negativity wears out the body. However, serenity, genuine peace, has the opposite effect, as it causes your muscles to tense up. It robs you of your breath, and it disrupts your sleep. It makes you more open. It enables your heartbeat to be more consistent. It makes it possible for your digestion to function more effectively, and it even helps mend damaged cells. The fact that this kind of perspective is not always something that you are born with is an interesting aspect of the situation. As a matter of fact, many of the elderly people who live the longest are the ones who have been through challenging experiences, such as loss, disease, and disappointment, but have emerged from the experience with a higher level of perspective. They are aware of what is most important and what is not. Having observed enough, they have come to the conclusion that the majority of the things that people worry about are simply not worth it. When I was younger, I had the opportunity to speak with a man named Harold who was 83 years old and had lost his wife, his siblings, and a significant chunk of his hearing. Despite this, he would sit outdoors with his coffee, nod his head in the direction of the sky, and say, "Here we go again, another good day." In such spirit, there is no denying there. Discipline is the key, the practice of focusing on the positive aspects of a situation and clinging to them like a lifeline. And please don't misunderstand me. This does not mean that you never experience feelings of grief or dissatisfaction. You are a human being. On the other hand, if you discover that those emotions do not take control of your life, if you are more likely to laugh than to complain, and if you have accomplished the skill of letting things roll off your back, then you are more than just a mood. This is a survival method, and it will keep you alive for a longer period of time than the majority of people are even aware of. If others frequently tell you that you are easygoing, or if they express gratitude for your peaceful energy, or if they remark that you are someone who simply makes things feel lighter, then you should take those statements carefully. This indicates that you have established a conducive emotional environment around you, one that is beneficial to both you and the other person. You, on the other hand, will continue to go forward in a steady and light manner long after others have exhausted themselves from carrying an excessive amount of frustration. I would appreciate it if you could use the fourth comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Step 5. Take more deliberate movements while moving at a slower pace. Although you may have seen that your steps have become slower over the years, this does not necessarily indicate that you are experiencing a decline. In point of fact, if you have slowed down your pace, but your motions have become more thoughtful and mindful, this could be a powerful indication that your body and mind are working together to preserve what is most important to you, which is balance, control, and safety. It should be made apparent that quickness is frequently overrated, particularly in older age groups. When you rush, you risk falling. However, a person who walks with awareness, who is aware of where their feet are, how their weight shifts, and how to move through space in a peaceful manner, is typically someone who has developed a form of intuitive self-preservation. Moreover, that is not a trivial matter. Whenever I observe an elderly person in their 70s or 80s ascending the stairs in a slow and steady manner while making use of the handrail, I do not perceive them as being weak because they are not feeble, but rather because they are wise. Wisdom is being put into action. The kind of bodily awareness that you describe is not only physical, rather, it is profoundly neurological. What this indicates is that your brain is still able to communicate effectively with your body, and that your body is paying attention. Further, it is not only a matter of walking. It is about the manner in which you exit a chair, the manner in which you reach for something that is located on a high shelf, and the manner in which you navigate through a busy area. While quick, reactive movements may give the impression of youth, they can actually be quite risky. As you get older, the thing that will safeguard you is movement that is purposeful, movement that is driven by experience rather than instinct, because they are not hindered by avoidable setbacks. People who move in this manner have a greater likelihood of avoiding injuries, maintaining their independence for longer periods of time, and living fuller lives. The people who live to be 100 years old typically have a remarkable low number of catastrophic accidents like that. However, a single fall can completely change everything. The manner in which they move is also a significant factor. There is a connection between mindful movement and mental deliberation. It is less probable that you will make impulsive and careless mistakes when your mind is functioning normally and your movements are reflected. It is more likely that you will scan your surroundings, precisely evaluate distances, and act in accordance with those measurements. In light of all of this, it is clear that there is a strong connection between your senses, your brain, and your muscles. This is a network that, when it is robust, discreetly watch over your longevity. It is also important to point out that there is something more. Those who live for a very long time frequently develop routines that revolve around mobility. You may try going for a walk every day at the same time, stretching gently first thing in the morning, or even doing Tai Chi in the park. This is not a workout for the sake of vanity. These are rites of awareness, moments to connect with the body, opportunities to experience the breath, and opportunities to move with intention. Therefore, if you have become more measured in your steps, if your posture is upright, if your hands know exactly where to go, and if your eyes scan the way ahead of you, then you are not slowing down. You are making adaptable choices. You have decided to prioritize presence over quickness. And that's not the only way to protect yourself from getting hurt. This is the method by which you can store energy for the years to come. I will tell you the truth in a world that more often than not considers delay to be a sign of weakness. When combined with your ability to exercise control, slowness is one of the most powerful things you can carry. Additionally, if you are going about your daily activities in a calm and methodical manner, you should not second-guess yourself. It's not just a routine anymore. That is an art form that can extend one's life. The sixth point is to outlive the medical professionals who formerly treated you. When you say it out loud, it might sound a little strange, but if you've started to realize that some of the doctors you used to see, such as your primary care physician, your old cardiologist, and possibly even the surgeon who operated on you many years ago, have since passed away, and you're still here, that's not just a coincidence. It's a resilient attitude. It is one of those silent indicators of longevity that no one really talks about. But it carries weight anyway. Outliving your doctors is one of those marks. Not only is it not something to brag about, but it is also not something that should be kept track of. Nevertheless, it is something that should be taken into consideration because the fact that you are still standing, still living, still smiling, and still learning despite the fact that the individuals who were formerly responsible for your health have moved on says something. This indicates that your body, your routines, your decisions, and possibly even your genes are all functioning in an appropriate manner. At this point, longevity is never determined by a single factor. It is a conglomeration of various factors. Perhaps you have maintained healthy eating habits for many years, You may have maintained your level of physical activity, perhaps not in significant ways, but by gardening, walking, performing chores, and remaining engaged with life. Perhaps you have never smoked, or perhaps you have smoked in the past but have since quit. Regardless of the circumstances, there is something within you that has been continually and resolutely keeping the lights on. Once upon a time, I came across a woman named Carol who was 84 years old. She joked that she had outlived the majority of her doctors and had more doctors than shoes. On the other hand, there was something more profound there. Her intelligence, her independence, and her tenderness were all still present in her. She continued to begin each day by reading the newspaper, and she was able to recall the names of her great-grandchildren. Not only did she tell me this, but she also told me that I simply never stopped living before. The way you think is important. Many people who live a long life do so because they maintain their level of engagement. They continue to be present. They do not begin to view themselves as too old in a manner that causes them to withdraw from others. They continue to show up, continue to care, and continue to participate. Moreover, the emotional, mental, and spiritual energy that one possesses can frequently be just as effective in promoting lifespan as any medication. That being said, outliving your doctors is also a matter of timing. A significant number of individuals who have passed away prematurely were suffering from chronic diseases, hereditary vulnerabilities, or stress loads that became excessive. If you have reached your 70s or 80s and you are still able to wake up every morning with your own sense of rhythm and purpose, this is an indication that you have been living in a way that is sustainable. It does not mean that you have not experienced any health issues. When they reach their 90s, the majority of people have experienced at least one significant medical episode. They were able to recuperate, which changed the situation. They were able to recover. They were able to heal both their bodies and their thoughts. The presence of such an internal recovery system is analogous to having an inflammation that is not evident. Keeping things flowing, repairing tissues, and controlling blood sugar and blood pressure are all important functions. Moreover, there are situations when it is not just biology but also belief. What it means is to get out of bed and make the decision to keep going. Even when things hurt or the days are quiet. Being curious about the world. Asking questions, taking up new activities, learning how to use a new phone, and being there for other people are all examples of what it means to be curious. One of the most important factors that differentiates those who survive from those who thrive is the level of involvement and spark that they possess. Therefore, if you have seen that the physician who delivered your grandchildren or the one who treated your back problems 20 years ago is no longer in practice, and you are still preparing dinner, watching sitcoms, and doing things around the house, then it is not just a matter of time passing. This is your body's way of letting the world know that I am still alive. Still, I have a lot of work to do. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. 7th, reduce the amount of food you consume and stop eating before you feel full. If you have naturally developed the practice of eating just enough, of stopping before you feel bloated, and of selecting simple, wholesome meals over heavy, rich ones, you may be tapping into one of the most dependable patterns of longevity that has been observed all across the world. There is more to it than just diet. This is all about instinct. It is important to pay attention to whether or not your instincts around food have become more enlightened as you have grown older. It is a common misconception that in order to live a long life, one must adhere to a particular diet, consume the appropriate amount of calories, consume a particular superfood, or take a current supplement. However, when researchers examine the dietary patterns of people who have lived past the age of 100, what appears to be the most notable is not what they add, It is the things that they do not do. They don't consume an excessive amount of food. They are not concerned with each and every bite. Instead, they consume food until they are completely content, at which point they cease. This is not merely a matter of personal preference if you have discovered that you no longer find large servings appealing or if you prefer meals that are smaller in weight. This is your body's way of letting you know that it has learned to listen. And it is listening really to what it requires. And in a society when eating is frequently motivated by feelings, distractions, or routines, that is a gift that is extremely uncommon. The intuitive eating style is responsible for a great deal of work behind the scenes. It facilitates normal digestion. Your blood sugar will be more constant as a result. It has a reducer of inflammation. Also, it safeguards your cardiovascular system, your brain, and even your immune system over the course of time. To put it another way, your body functions more efficiently when it is not continuously having to work overtime to process food that it did not request. The residents of Okinawa, which is considered to be one of the most well-known blue zones in the world, adhere to the idea of hara hachi bu, which encourages them to consume food until they are approximately 80% satisfied. The practice of mild restraint, which is done after each meal, provides the body with the space it needs to breathe, recuperate, and thrive, without even making an effort. You might have picked up on this change. It's possible that you used to go back for seconds, but now you can get by with just one plate. Perhaps the allure of decadent sweets is no longer as strong as it once was. Perhaps it's just that you're more content with the simple pleasures in life. Like a bowl of warm soup, a cup of tea, or some fresh fruit. There is no loss of appetite associated with this shift. It is about becoming more conscious of things. The habits of taking your time with meals, chewing carefully, savoring each bite, and truly enjoying your food without rushing in any way are not just good, they are highly beneficial. It is a powerful force. Through their actions, they activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the mode of the nervous system that is responsible for healing, reducing stress, and supporting healthy aging. Over and over again, I've witnessed it in folks who have lived for a very long time. They don't eat in order to get away. They consume food in order to nourish themselves. It is not uncommon for them to do so in tranquil settings, such as around the table, rather than in front of the television. Consequently, if you discover that the way you eat has become less complicated, more peaceful, and more balanced in your life, you should not disregard this as a development that is unrelated to your age. Accept it as a sign of wisdom. The human body is aware of what it is doing. It has discovered a rhythm that respects one's health. This rhythm, despite the fact that it may appear to be quite subtle, is one of the most powerful indications that you are made to last. The eighth point is to discover joy in regularity rather than only in novelty. Because we live in a culture that celebrates novelty, new places, new technologies, and new experiences, it is simple to believe that a life that is well-lived must be full of a wide range of experiences. Here, however, is something that is quietly astonishing. It's common for people who live long, healthy lives to avoid the pursuit of novelty. Instead, they discover that routine brings them a great deal of satisfaction. In addition, if you have developed an appreciation for the convenience of your routines, this is not an example of stagnation. That demonstrates strength. Doing tasks that are familiar to you on a daily basis, such as watering your plants in the morning, going for a slow walk after lunch, or listening to the same radio station while you are preparing dinner, can create a rhythm that is soothing and relaxing. These aren't merely the peculiarities that come with becoming older. This is a stabilizing agent. Therefore, your nervous system is aware of it. The regularity of your routine helps to regulate your internal clock, which in turn makes your sleep more restful and your digestion more effective. Creates a sense of predictability, which in turn reduces anxiety. Furthermore, it liberates your mental energy, allowing you to concentrate on the things that are genuinely important, such as connection, reflection, and thankfulness. While I was speaking with a man named Edward, who was 87 years old. I recalled that he had consumed the same straightforward breakfast for more than 3 decades. In his opinion, it was not dull at all. He saw it as one decision that he would not have to worry about. He smiled and replied, "It will give me the opportunity to think about the things that are truly important." One of the most significant benefits of aging well is the capacity to maintain one's concentration and to move through the day without feeling as though one is being tugged in 100 different ways. You might have observed that you experience a greater sense of tranquility when your days are structured, and that you look forward to certain routines, such as stretching in the morning, having a cup of coffee in the afternoon, reading the newspaper, or contacting a friend before going to bed. Those are not only personal tastes, they are indications that your body and mind have established a secure and consistent environment in which to flourish. One more thing that is fascinating is this: if you have a routine, it does not mean that your world is small. Indeed, for a great number of individuals, it indicates that their internal world is growing. You can establish the mental flexibility to notice minor joys by grounding oneself in familiar acts. For example, you can observe the way the light enters through the window at noon, the rhythm of your own breath, or the comfort of your favorite chair. In spite of their insignificance, these moments build up to a life that is rich in significance. This does not imply that you do not take pleasure in surprises or adventures. If, on the other hand, you have discovered that tranquility is frequently not achieved by pursuing something new, but rather by recognizing and appreciating what is already functioning, such as your routines, your pace, and the way you navigate the world, then that is a wonderful thing. It is common for people who live to be 100 years old to have rituals that are nearly revered. Their meals are always consumed at the same time of day. It is the same paths that they take, using the same low-key manners. They communicate with the same individuals. In addition, kids discover not boredom but a sense of belonging within that repetition. It is not an indication that you are slowing down if you are experiencing a sense of familiarity in your days. If your rhythms are comfortable, and if you are no longer experiencing the need to continually reinvent your routine in order to feel alive, it is an indication that you have arrived. You've discovered something that a lot of people never do enough of. When you construct your life around that sensation, which is not one of deficiency but rather of completeness, you establish a foundation that has the potential to take you further than you could have ever dreamed. Lastly, some thoughts. As we come to the end of this video, I would like for you to pause right now and think about what you have just heard. Perhaps one of these signs brought a smile to your face as you recognized it. Most likely, a number of them took you by surprise. If, on the other hand, you are 65, 70, or 85 years old and you are still finding these patterns in your life, then you should pay close attention to this. It is more than you realize that you are doing well. The volume of these indications is mild. There is no applause for them to receive. However, they are influential, a form of longevity that is not built in hospitals or health clubs, but rather in the subtle choices that you make on a daily basis that gradually mold who you become. Is what they are talking about. It is not necessary to be participating in marathons or pursuing lofty goals in order to be on the path toward reaching 100. There are times when the most silent manifestations of resilience are the most powerful. Your ability to breathe through stress, your ability to eat with mindfulness, your ability to walk with care, and the fact that you are still able to find beauty in the mundane. Which of these things struck out to you the most? With regard to yourself, which of these signs do you observe? Is there a particular one that you would like to cultivate going forward? When you become aware of a strength that you were previously unaware you possessed, it can have a significant impact on how you carry yourself throughout the day. It's not just about making predictions about your future in this video. Respecting your present and recognizing the ways in which your body and spirit have adapted, persevered, and suffered are essential components of this aspect. The fact that even a single part of you feels more hopeful, more grounded, or more confident as a result of what we discussed today is enough to make the entire experience worthwhile. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.